Welcome back to another episode of To the Moon. And on this episode, we have a very special Astroflipping community member, somebody that I have watched really just grow and blossom, create an incredible business for himself and his family here. And it's been wild watching Ethan just dominate the not only the agent outreach method, but has become a staple and like actual like figure in the community, who is helping hundreds, dozens of community members understand the technology that we use, called Astro Blaster. He's become like the like spearheader, and truly somebody that I have a tremendous amount of respect and love for. And so Ethan, welcome to the moon. Incredibly grateful to have you be a part of the community, and happy to see you on this episode today. How are you, man?
I'm honestly blessed, brother. First and foremost, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you for bringing me on. I remember when I was first signing on, joining the community, joining Astro Flipping. I was watching a couple of these just to verify, like, who the heck is this Jamil guy, right? So, like, now, fast forward a couple months now, being on here, I'm truly blessed. So I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart.
It's crazy how things can kind of come full circle, and you see yourself in the seat that you were watching other people in, and maybe at that time when you watched that episode, I mean, of course, you hadn't been making that kind of money yet, right? So
No,
you were on the outside looking in and saying, could that be me?
yeah,
And now it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
So before we get into the juicy details of the success that you've been having, I want to rewind us back, to the beginning of your journey in real estate investing. What brought you to wholesaling in general? How did you find me? And we'll start there. So tell us a little bit about Ethan and
yeah.
your journey here, bro.
Yeah, man. So I just want to say, kind of my beginning of my story. Now, second child to a first generation Ecuadorian family, born and raised in New York, and growing up, didn't really have much. I don't want to. I'm grateful to say I had a roof over my head and belly full of food. But I've always been without much. So I definitely, from a young kid, I always knew I wanted more. Growing up and, every single month having one utility being shut off, like gas being shut off this month, electric being shut off this month, water being shut off this month. I like grew up having that burn in my stomach saying, like, I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. Right. Um, so fast forward from there, like I started working around like 12, 13, just because I didn't want my mom to, and my mom was a single mom, unfortunately. So she was always working, always out of the house, always trying to, provide for the family. Right. So started working around like 12, 13 at a pizza spot and an Italian restaurant, and worked up to that point to where I was working full time at like freshman year of high school, right? Like 40, 50 hours a week, at this Italian restaurant, while also going to school, obviously playing sports full time, played football and wrestling. And then fast forward, going on to college, playing, doing, wrestling collegiately, until about my second year. And at that point, going to school to physical therapy, I was like, look, I always had that desire of becoming an entrepreneur, right? So from there, just learning, how can I? Because everything at that point this was around like maybe 2016, and like social media marketing was kind of like the new wave of how you can make money as an entrepreneur. So I got into a couple of courses, learned that. So at that point, that's when I said, like, hey, you know what can I do to really like make money off of this now knowledge? And a buddy of mine was starting an actual brick and mortar deli.
Okay.
So I actually went to him and say, like, hey, he wanted me to be a manager there, because obviously I had about like almost 8 years experience working in restaurants at that point. And he was like, hey, you want to be a manager there? And I was, hey, look, I can also do this for you in regards to marketing, right? And he's like, well, I can't pay you. So at like 22 years old, I like negotiated, equity for what I was doing.
Wow,
So I
dude.
found myself being in the deli and catering business. And fast forward, while also performing in the deli and catering business, within 6 months we were profiting. Like, and that's kind of like unheard of in like brick and mortar restaurants. So like within 6 months, because of what I was doing in marketing wise, we were getting like catering gigs for hospitals, for different hotel venues. So it worked out pretty tremendously. And I was also building my marketing company as well as, the deli and catering business on the side. But then came the pandemic, and that kind of, closed the doors for that, unfortunately. And at that point, I also ended up selling my marketing company to a bigger New York City, Madison Avenue level marketing company.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay. So was that a decent exit for you?
yeah, no, I would say for me and my three partners, we sold off all of our clientele. And at that point, at that young age, I was like maybe 23, 24 ish at that point, and that was my first win, right? And I felt pretty good about myself. But then at that point, I was working for that company, and sometime during the pandemic, they decided to do a lot more e-commerce, so they didn't need direct salespeople anymore. So at that point, I kind of found myself out of a job. And then I was working some odd end jobs, working in car sales, doing Uber, right? And then at that point, that's when I found myself being in the mortgage business.
Okay.
So I was a mortgage banker at a smaller retail bank, and it was a good spot. It was a good time to join the mortgage business, right? Like business was booming during the pandemic in regards
Yeah.
to mortgage loans, et
Yeah.
cetera.
People were refining their homes and getting out money so that they could renovate and do all kinds of things because they had all that free time during the quarantine, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, you guys were super busy then.
Yeah, yeah. And I found this software that I was able to build out automations for stuff, which, Astro Blaster was built upon. So I started utilizing that software to be able to automate my mortgage applications. So I was following up with mortgage applicants, using these automations to really get more credits, to automate my outreach to these applicants, and it helped me perform a substantial amount of loans within like my first 2 years. So I was like, crap, this stuff works. And then it kind of dawned on me that once I noticed like, wow, this is kind of like at one side of the pendulum swing of the market. Like it's going great right now. And like I always had that thought in the back of my head, like, hey, what if it's not always like this? Right? Like what happens when the other side comes and like you're struggling for loans, right? So that's when I was like, okay, now I got to start thinking about maybe other stuff, right? Because I don't think I'm going to be able to rely on this level of income for so long. And I've always been aware of wholesaling, just through everybody in real estate is sometimes aware of wholesaling. That all you think of is direct to seller. It costs money to make money. So I always said like, oh, if I get into wholesaling, I'll get out another time, whatever.
Yeah,
But
because you
then
thought you needed like $20,000 a month to market.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, look, like I don't want to blow my savings on something that I don't know if it's gonna work. I'm like, I'm good, right? And then I found Mr. Jamil Damji and Pace Morby on Brad Lee's
Oh,
podcast.
no doubt. That's where you
Yeah,
found us?
yeah, honestly,
Wow.
yeah.
Thanks,
And
Brad.
Brad Lee was pretty much calling you the godfather of wholesaling, and how you have such a great way of wholesaling without really any actual cost, right? And that's kind of where I raised my eyebrow.
Mhm.
Um,
You're like, this
and
guy's either full of crap or figured it out.
Yeah, no, and honestly, like for me personally, me and my partner Carolina, we were thinking like, okay, it's either going to be Pace or Jamil, right? And like I was like, well, wholesaling sounds more like kind of what I'm doing in the mortgage business right now. Like you're looking for contracts and you just want to take it across the finish line, right? So I was like, well, that sounds more like what I'm doing now. So let me just go to wholesaling, right? It sounded like I'm in the mortgage business. I'm working with agents. I'm looking to take a contract from point A to point B to the closing table. Like it's very parallel to what I'm doing now,
Right.
right? So I was like, yes, wholesaling sounds easier. I'm already talking to agents now. I know how they work. I think I can do that. So it was a very easy decision for me and Carolina. Obviously, I've been burned by courses before. Definitely did my due diligence first by watching, you on YouTube and watching To the Moon podcast with other successful students. And I was like, I think I can do this. All right. So, we
Good
hopped
thing.
in.
I highly recommend people do due diligence on the people that they're, spending money to work with, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so much trash out there, bro. It's
Yeah.
and it breaks my heart to hear stories of people that have, blown, like there's always this situation, right? Where somebody's like, hey, yeah, you know, buy my course. And then you buy their
Yeah.
course and it's like, you know, $10,000. And then they're like, okay, well, now that you're in the course, we're not telling you everything. We're going to give you like the base level information. But if you really want to know how to do it, it's $60,000. And then all of a sudden you're like,
right.
oh man, okay, I thought I was going to learn everything I needed to learn for $10,000, but now you want $60,000. Okay. And
You
then
just feel bamboozled, you
you
know?
get
Yeah.
bamboozled, right? You get totally scammed, and it sucks. It's such a terrible. And then they kick you out after a few months.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's BS, man. It's absolute trash. And Pace and I are literally doing everything in our power to change that. You know, because we're both real. We're both practitioners of this. But anyway, so you've been burnt before, so you were very skeptical, but you had to make sure that you weren't going to get robbed, you weren't going to get scammed. You did some due diligence and you pulled the trigger.
Yeah. No, and
How long ago was that?
I'm sorry?
How long ago was that?
We had joined back in August.
Okay.
August of 2021. And I would say it took us about a month to really go through enough of the material to where we felt that we were ready to do some action. So by the time like September rolled around, we were ready to do some action. And then, you know, we were consuming a lot of the content, you know, either through the course or through your YouTube channel and Pace's YouTube channel. And it was, you know, we identified very early on that comping was a skill that we really needed to learn first and foremost. Obviously, we were still talking to agents, and like within a week or two, me and my partner locked up like a contract ourselves, right? And I feel like I think one of the things I wish I knew now that I would have told myself back then was really stick to the community, because when we had those deals, they were, if I was to look at them now, they were actually good deals back then. But we were only working with like 1 or 2 wholesalers, and really we're trying to rely on them to dispose of the deal. But like, no, really leverage every single person in your market to make sure that deal can move forward. So I feel like that's one thing I would have told myself is like, hey, really leverage the community, right? Don't try to be a one-man band or just rely on one person for your deal. Really like put it out there, really try to get it across the finish line. So you know, but ever since then, you know, it's been smooth sailing. It's been constant growth. You know, I would say first and foremost, the community not only has just taught me about it hasn't just taught me about wholesaling, right? I would say more than anything, even after the mastermind, Jamil, I would say the mastermind really taught me that I need to start building myself as much as the business, because the more and more I'm starting to realize myself right now, 80% of this business is mindset and 20% of it is technical. Like whatever limiting belief I have about a contract, an agent, about my offer, it's all up here, right? And then whatever I feel inside is how I'm gonna speak. And I feel like that's been really been my limiting belief. And as much as now that I'm working on myself as much as possible, I'm starting to really see the results for it within like the last 2-3 weeks of the mastermind.
Right? Like you know, when you give a number to an agent and it's lower than what they're hoping for or what they may be wanting, but it's the right number. You know it's the right number. And so like you can deliver that with confidence and feel really good knowing that, look, if they take it, great. If they don't, I didn't lowball. I wasn't out. I wasn't the person who was wrong here. Right. I'm actually paying for the property what the property is worth in its current condition. And if they can't get to that number yet, they will at some point, because that's where it's going to trade, you know? Right. And so, you know, understanding that and having I love that you said that. If I had just understand what limits I had in my mind about my numbers, my contracts, what I'm doing, you know, that allows me, that literally frees you from being pigeonholed or because how many people do we see when they first come in, bro? They're like, oh, I'm so scared to talk, or I'm so scared to give this number to the realtor. It's $100,000 off of the list price. And it's like, but that's what the real number is, you know? And if you can deliver that with confidence, and when you couple that with a truly motivated seller, you get results.
Absolutely.
So walk us through some of the results, because you have done a phenomenal job in, you know, growing and really, you know, you're one of the leaders of the Astro Blaster community, and, you know, God bless you. And I'm so grateful to have you be a part of it, because you were one of the early adopters of the technology. So you know it about as well as Andy does, and Andy is who developed it. So, you know, we really, really appreciate all of the additional love and help that you've been giving the community in that technology, right? But yeah, walk us through, you know, some of the last deals that you've done, because it's been pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I would say so my first deal came in and I would say really from when we started taking action from like September to about November-ish. I was very shiny object syndrome, and I believe one of the first times I really spoke to you on one of the live calls, like we were shiny object about everything, about markets, about what type of strategy in order to get deals. I was very shiny object about everything. So I was first shiny object syndrome about Philly and Florida, right? Going back and forth, back and forth. Oh, I got a contract canceled here, I'm gonna go to Florida. I got a contract canceled here, I'm gonna go to Philly. So, and I remember you telling me like, hey, stop changing. Like until you get like 100 canceled contracts, then you can maybe think, oh, maybe it's the market, right? But until then, stick to one market. So then I took that advice. We stuck in Tampa, and then from there it was, oh, I'm gonna do agent outreach. Oh, agent outreach sucks. I'm gonna do MLS stuff. Oh, MLS stuff sucks. I'm gonna do, you know, I'm gonna be the dispo wholesaler. I'm gonna be the king of dispo. That sucks too. I'm gonna do microflip. All this stuff sucks, you know. And then I was like, look, like I was like, you know, I need to just stick to one thing, right? And then for me personally, I was like, look, I'm good at talking to agents. Like I do this in my job. I'm good at talking to agents. I did it for 3 weeks, and then just doing all these initial. I do everything cold calling, initial, like all the initial conversation with agents. All of that is by phone, so I can develop a better rapport and relationship with them right at the get go. And
Smart.
then through the automations, I follow up. Right.
Yeah.
So my follow up is automated.
So for those who don't know what he's talking about, the automation. So we developed a technology called the Astro Blaster that is, and actually I shouldn't say we. Andy Wrong developed a technology called the Astro Blaster, and it is phenomenal. It automates your follow up sequences for agents, so that you're not wasting time just having initial conversations with people and then dropping the ball and never talking to them again. We 100% know that in this business, you have to follow up. If you're not following up, you're not getting paid. That's it, right? So what Ethan's talking about in the automation, so he will have his initial conversation by phone. So he calls agents first, and after he builds a relationship with them and establishes contact, he then puts them into the Astro Blaster system, and the Astro Blaster system takes it from there. So it automates the follow-ups, continues to ask them if they have any opportunities. And so he doesn't have to spend time or waste time thinking about if he remembered to follow up with this person or that person. It's happening for him.
Right.
So he just focuses on making initial contact. Is that fair to say?
1000%.
Okay,
perfect.
so the automations do the follow-ups for you. You continue doing initial outreach, initial contact, and what's been popping up for you?
Yeah. So really, once I stayed consistent with that, 3 weeks later, I got the magic address, right, of my first deal. So 3 weeks of just consistent work of sticking to the KPIs every single day. 3 weeks, I got that magical address, and then comped it. You know, small negotiation, nothing crazy. We got it under contract within, and so I got the executed contract at our last golden ticket event. I opened up the laptop while I was taking notes. I got the fully executed contract. We dispoed it. I was able to, you know, send it out to my own buyers first. That I skip traced through Privy. It works. And you know, within 24 hours, we got it assigned. So my first deal, got it locked up myself and dispoed it to my own buyer. You know,
How much you make on that one?
So through some rookie mistakes, I would have easily made 10,000, but it was also like never realizing that you can also negotiate with your buyers. Now I noticed that buyer, he is a good buyer, but he likes to always ask for a discount. So he literally just asked, hey,
And you
can
gave
you
it
give
to
me
him.
a better price? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I just immediately gave him like 5K off. So I only made like 5K, but now fast forward, now hindsight is 2020. I'm like, if I just said no, he would have been okay with it because he really liked the deal. So I was like, whatever. It's a beginner's mistake, but yeah, 5K on that deal. Same thing, like maybe 2-3 weeks later, same thing, got another magic address for my second deal. That was, that was a 15K total assignment on that one. And after the mastermind, I noticed, like I mentioned before, went to the mastermind because a lot of it was limiting beliefs in my mindset, right?
Mhm.
As a wholesaler, I'm very good at comping, very good at talking to agents, but it was a matter of I was always negative on myself. If something bad happened in my personal life, in the business, if I had a bad conversation, that negativity would compound over like the week, right? And my KPI, I would fall short of my KPIs. So once I started really becoming more consistent afterwards, after the mastermind, I've been more consistent with my KPIs. And then I realized, wow, now I'm having about 2 to 5 genuine off market properties coming in through the system every day. I was like, okay, great. Now I don't really have a leads
Phenomenal.
problem right now. But now where's my next bottleneck? It's conversion. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I was a little too conservative. So now I'm leveraging the community a lot more. Now I'm pretty much really working in partnership with our buddy John Galan, where he told me like, hey, you might want to take a shot at this. Yeah, your MAO might be a little too high, but take a shot at it, right? I took a shot at it. Within 2 hours, it was assigned for a 10K fee. And then after retrade, another 5K. So it was a total 5K
Yeah,
on that.
boy.
Another
Come
5K on
on.
that. Another 5K on that. And then right now, also with our buddy Galan, where he has a buyer walking the property as we speak, and if and right now he has like 6 total buyers interested in walking the property. I think we'll easily get it at asking, and that'll be like a $12,500 for each of us. So, I think, now that mindset is kind of being taken care of, convert like leads are now being automated through the system, and I'm leveraging the community in order to be able to help convert it. I think it's a very good system that I'm now starting to create. And honestly, like I mentioned before, like I'm just appreciative of you and the community from the bottom of my heart, because honestly, it's definitely changed my life. Just even thinking about how, for April it'll be a $27,000 month. Just like it doesn't even sound real coming out of my mouth.
I mean, it is real, which is beautiful, right? Because the money will actually clear and the wires will hit. And coming from your background where you would be fearful that the gas would turn off or the electric would turn off or the
Yeah,
water would turn off, right?
yeah,
That's and I grew up, it wasn't for us. We like the utilities wouldn't turn off, but like we didn't have money for food lots of times, right?
hmm
We'd have to just eat beans, or like just make it, you just make do. And
hmm
I remember that. I remember it being hard. And just like you, I wanted to do better for my mom. I wanted to do better for my family. I felt that we deserved better, but it wasn't going to be given to us. I
hmm
had to get out and get it. I had to take it. If it wasn't going to be given to us, then we had to earn it. And so, this is exactly what you've been doing. And it's tremendous to hear your story. And how old are you, by the way, Ethan?
25.
25 years old. And I'm just, looking back at the knucklehead I was when I was 25, right? Definitely wasn't as accomplished as you are at 25, making, this kind of money. $27,000 a month for me at 25 years old would have really been a game changer for me. It took me some time before I started to actually do well. But, looking at that, right? Looking at your trajectory and looking at your life, I'm I mean, it feels like you've already lived like multiple lifetimes,
Yeah,
you having gone and to getting equity in a deli and then growing that business and then, having a social media firm and then taking an exit on your social media company, getting paid for selling a company. I mean, people don't do that in a lifetime.
yeah,
And you did that in your early 20s,
yeah,
right? Then becoming a mortgage banker and then, finding your way into wholesale and creating a genuine business where you're pulling in that kind of revenue on a monthly basis. It's incredible to see. And just in case you didn't realize this, you are a certified badass, bro.
I appreciate
Like
you, man.
no doubt in my mind, you 1,000,000% deserve all of the success that's happening for you right now. Just looking at how giving you are and how available you can be for people who are not yet successful, the people who are just getting started. The amount of care, attention, and love that you provide to them, knowing what it feels like to be on the other side of that success coin.
hmm
It's people like you that I feel really good about, knowing that in the work that I'm doing, this community is going to create ripples in our in the world of real estate, where people are genuinely going to be out there taking care of each other, helping each other,
Yeah.
and watching each other get incredibly successful. And you
Yeah.
are one of the leaders that is making that happen. You know,
I
and
appreciate
and
it, bro.
Ethan, I'm just really proud of you, bro.
I appreciate you, bro. Yeah, no, I you know, as you know, Astro Blaster continues to grow, and as I, you know, can have some more continued success, I want to be able to, you know, I'm going to continuously show up, and show up even more to the community, not just Astro Blaster, but also Astro Flipping in general. Because you know, it really was only like a couple months ago where I was like struggling for my first deal. Like it really only was a couple of months ago, and I feel like it really only takes that subtle shift, really in mindset, that it will really take you across the other side. I feel like the actual technicals is not so hard to grasp, but I feel like once you can really tell someone, hey, if I can genuinely do this, like I am no one special. Like obviously it takes an abundance of calls in order to get there, but like the actual technicals is not so difficult to understand, right? But you need to consistently obsess that day in and day out. You know, I'm going to live my perfect day in order to get my result. And I think it's definitely been a game changer for me. And like I keep saying from the bottom of my heart, I definitely do appreciate you, brother.
I love you too, man. And you know, it's just it's wild to see, and it inspires me to continue on doing what I'm doing, because I'm seeing the difference, and knowing that you're taking that as an example and then doing it yourself at a really high level for very many people, that pushes me to go even harder. So, you know, this is a collaboration between all of us, and you are just as, you know, you thank me, but truly watching you succeed inspires me to do it more. So I'm thanking
Yeah,
you back, you
I
know?
appreciate you, bro.
Well, if there's any advice that you could give to anybody right now that's just stuck in that dark room, you know, it's hopeless. They don't know what, you know, the water just got turned off. They don't know what's happening, what's coming around the corner. What would you tell them?
Look up in the sky, whatever you believe in, say, you know, ask for that path, and I genuinely believe it'll come to you. If number one, like you have it so integrated into in this community that, you know, if you even if you just have even if you just get one deal underneath your belt, reach back behind you and lend a hand, right, to your next person. Especially if they're in the astro flipping community, or if not, like even if you're a part of the astro flipping free community, right? And if you guys are just like looking for your first deal, or how can I get wholesaling started, right? Like put yourself out there and ask for that hand. I know, you know, not only myself, I will try my best to always put out that hand to help someone. But I know it's not even only just myself. There's countless leaders in this community that will absolutely help. So if you're in that position, look to the sky, ask whatever you believe in to, you know, guide you and shine that light as to where you should go to ask for that help. Work for it. Obviously, nothing is ever going to be given to you. It's one of the things I learned at a very early age. Nothing is ever going to be given to you. You have to meticulously work day in and day out in order to make it happen. But if you genuinely believe in your heart and in your mind that it will, and it's powered by the work, nothing is going to stop you.
Amen, bro. Amen. Well, Ethan, congratulations, man. It's been a pleasure having you here. I know people are going to want to work with you. So tell us what market you are specific. I know you said Tampa, but are you firm in Tampa? Have you expanded
Tampa
anywhere
Bay.
else?
Yeah, Tampa Bay, Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, Central Florida market in general. And if you would like to reach out to me, my Facebook name is Ethan Armijos, just like it is on my is on the call, and then also just on Instagram, Ethan.Armijos. Very simple.
Beautiful. Guys, reach out to Ethan. He wants to work with you. If you've got any deals in Central Florida, need help comping, want to find a buyer, want to make more money on your deal, Ethan's your guy.
Would love to help.
For myself, Ethan, and everybody else in the Astro Flipping community, we want to see you on the moon. Check us out. Till the next time. Thanks for watching another one of my YouTube videos. Now it's your turn to go out and take some action. But before you do, like and subscribe to my channel, because the law of reciprocity means you owe me.